So this is probably going to go up on the same day as the Wanna Kick Rayman series, mostly due to time and not quality. If you're looking for quality, Ugh-cade doesn't have it either. So Rayman 3 has a fair few minigames, but all of them suck. Earlier on I said that 2D Madness wasn't in the game. I was wrong about that. It's 2D Nightmare that isn't in the GameCube game due to that glitch that I discussed beforehand. 2D Madness isn't good though. It seems like they took a lot of the assets from Rayman 1 and just stuck them into a level, and they don't look that good, and I get slight motion sickness from this. I don't know, there's something off-putting about it. The other thing you might notice is the fact that I haven't been hit, but my health is going down. That's because that's not health, that's a timer. So you might be wondering, what happens when you get hits? You die instantly. That's what happens. Now, thank goodness there's no contact damage with the hoodlums, but these Mr. Mosquitoes carrying the spiky whatever those are, yeah, those can't be destroyed, and if you touch them, you die. I think if you touch the top of the Mr. Mosquito, you're fine, but either way, though, yeah, I really do not like this stage. I think you also have to collect enough gems to lower the yellow bar down to nothing by the end of the stage. I have no idea what happens if you don't, because I just played this enough to beat the stage, and that was it, because I don't like this minigame. I don't think the original Rayman was one-hit kill, was it? I mean, I don't have that much experience with it, but I don't think it was this bad. But yeah, all the Rayman 1 assets they just kind of stuck in here, they don't look that good. Because it's still a 3D game, but they put the 2D stuff there and had the 3D model on top of it. This, however, is even worse than that one. Because this is Racket Jump, I think it is. I don't know why that's the name of this, because this minigame is just really bad tennis. And I mean really bad. Thankfully there's no love in it. You just go 15, 30, 40, and then whoever gets the point after that just immediately wins. But yeah, it's really bad tennis. Nothing about it feels good. It controls horribly. Thankfully that got out. And this is my best run because I fucked up the least. But I don't feel like I really did anything different here. Oh, by the way, prime strategy, never use the square button to hit the ball, just put the spin on it all the time. I always fucked up whenever I used the X button. And by the way, it's first to 5 round victories wins, you don't just go through a single set, unfortunately, meaning you have to play this for a while. I'm gonna skip most of this, you don't have to go through all this yourself. I just want to get to a point where I fuck up, and it doesn't really feel like it's my fault at all, which is all my mistakes, I feel, unless I don't move around enough. Like, really, I should stick around the middle more. But yeah, this is the only run where, at no point did I just start fucking up non-stop. It still feels like it takes forever. I really do not like this minigame, and seriously, I did pretty well for these first 2 rounds, didn't I? Well, while we're waiting, I'd also like to mention, oh, wait, no, that was a good one, I guess. I had to fuck up at some point, but anyway, yeah, the music isn't really good at all. I believe this is the longest shortcut music that I said. Oh, there we go, that's a fuck up, so I can skip the rest of this after I'm done talking about the bad music. The music is all reused from the rest of the game, and it never really feels like it fits. And this one is also true. This music doesn't go along with tennis at all, and I don't like it that much in the first place. Anyway, skipping the rest of this. Okay, I'm pretty sure I'm about to win. So I can also mention that if your opponent gets to 4 rounds won, you start hearing a beeping non-stop, and that's the worst. You have to play through the rest of the game with that beeping. So yeah, that was garbage tennis. You never really get past just a couple of volleys, and it doesn't feel good at all. Alright, well, I'm definitely not playing this again. You can go away. So that's the second minigame you get. The next one is Crush. Oh, this game isn't that good either. So, you don't play as Razoff in this one, you play as his Wrecking Ball. This one actually has plots. So yeah, after we left, Begoniax just made a whole lot of toads, and I guess is now trying to murder Razoff. So this doesn't control well at all, as you might have guessed. There's a little bit of momentum to it, but otherwise, yeah, it just controls way too loose and fast, and it just doesn't feel good at all. The goal is to crush a whole lot of toads before your health runs out, and of course, the longer you go, the faster it runs out. Larger toads will give you more time back, but if you lose too much time, you're probably not going to be able to beat this minigame, unless you're really close to the end yourself. It's just one of those, once you start fucking up, you don't stop fucking up things. That being said, I do appreciate the oh my god little, what do you call those anyway? The little text you get whenever you do a good combo. The good combo good texts. Yes, that is what they're called. Though I really don't know what the toads are doing other than existing. Do we have to pay child support or something? Is that it? Because, as we all remember, because it's burned forever into our brains, Begoniax really likes fucking toads. I said that a lot more plainly than I did earlier, but it doesn't matter now because she's dead. We killed the third Begoniax toad, and we won because she's worth the most points. Alright, so, there's another Razoff minigame where we actually get to play as him. And this one's actually kind of fun. It's just like a little shooting gallery. It's not like the best controlling one, but it's the best minigame we've played so far. Unfortunately, though, this is actually it's not a set pattern or anything. Random targets will appear. You can't shoot the Razoff ones. You shoot everything else, though. You reload instantly as well. But yeah, the reason it sucks that it's not really set is because in my first run of this, there was actually a Razoff target in the first room. And in this run, they really didn't appear that often, even after the first room, so my second run of this was far easier than the first, for no reason other than sheer dumb luck. Also, yeah, sometimes hit detection isn't really good at all. You might have noticed, but these minigames aren't exactly well designed. This is clearly people's lunch break projects, rather. And honestly, I don't mind that they decided to fuck around, but like, these are our rewards for doing well in the game. You get the worst parts of Rayman 3 for doing well, and I don't really care for that. Oh god, it's Sentinel next. Okay, so I beat all of the minigames except for this one, because Sentinel is garbage. I could not win this one. I hate Sentinel so much. It's worse than garbage tennis. Okay, so we have to kill all of these Kanaran before they reach us. Yet again, there are no targets when they really would have helped. You really can't tell where you're aiming, because the only indication is that meter, which in the first place really doesn't help. Like, I can barely tell the difference between, like, what or how filled the meter is. Like, I don't know why that works, but other times it doesn't. That seemed to go farther than it normally did. I think angle might also determine something, but I don't know. I've played this minigame for like half an hour, and I still just could not get a feeling for how far this hoodlum lobs grenades. Like back there. I don't know why that one fell shorts. And that one barely made it. The blast radius is sometimes awful, but sometimes it's good. And each direction the Kanaran come from all have their share of problems. Like, in front, it's very easy for you to go too close or too far with your grenades. Like behind the waterfall, that area, the Kanaran like to jump around a lot over in that direction. To the right of that, you have some awful geography, because they can just hide themselves in the snowbank, and it's really hard to hit them. And behind you, it's fairly easy to hit those Kanaran, but also it's hard to turn around to them if you're focused on other things, and you do not have a lot of time to react to these guys. The other bad thing about this is the fact that it's kind of hard to pay attention to anything but, like, where you're aiming your grenades. I could barely see the meter when I was playing, not that that would have helped all that much, and I can only really catch a glimpse out of the corner of my eye to see the scanner up there. There is way too much to focus on, especially because it's just stupidly difficult to actually hit Kanarin, because for some reason somebody on the team was just allergic to crosshairs, so you can never tell where you're firing in any part of the game. It wasn't so bad in the turret section, but here it's awful! So anyway, yeah, Sentinel sucks. Missile Command, though, is okay. This is a set course, but basically this is just a very long rocket segment, and there's honestly not much else to say other than that. It is kind of fun, other than these hallways, which visually are a little difficult to take in. I guess if you're not good with reds, this might not be the best minigame, but again, like, this is the best one so far, except maybe Razoff Circus, because it's just a missile segment. And it's also one that's pretty well designed. Like, the first missile segment in the game is kind of difficult just because of the way the obstacles are positioned, but I feel like all the obstacles here are fair and well done. Like, even the moving ones, there's a clear indication of where you can get through those. Like, visually, there's nothing that's really difficult about this one. It's just a matter of, can you aim the rocket correctly? Can you last this long in a missile segment? Because that is pretty difficult. Again, and it's a long one, and just hitting the wall once ends in you losing the minigame. And it is quite the long one, so it's kind of demoralizing if you lose, especially right at the end. But yeah, overall it's not that bad. But again, because it's not randomized, which, you know, probably would have been a bad idea back then. I mean, randomizing can still go wrong nowadays. If they had done it for Rayman 3, considering the other minigames, it probably would have sucked. But still, you're probably not going to get much replay out of this one minigame, though. And I'm glad they didn't even animate that. Great way to end that minigame, guys. Just explosion sounds, no actual explosion effects. Ooh, balloons! Okay, so this is straight up my favorite minigame in the game, because it's just a platforming section with a whole lot of balloons. But it's also a platforming section that looks really fucking cool, though also kinda terrifying. I didn't play this one much when I was a kid because I might have mentioned this before, but I really don't like open oceans. They're kinda terrifying. Less so nowadays, unless I were in a situation like this, in which case I would just die at that point. But yeah, nowadays, it's really not so bad, but oh boy, back in the day, big old open ocean I could fall into, I wouldn't have cared for that. You might have also noticed that picking up gems restores our health because, of course, the health meter is a time limit again. Obviously, the emeralds are worth the most time, so whenever you see one, make sure to pick it up. There are no gems that are particularly difficult to obtain. Honestly, this is a pretty, I don't want to say scripted, because that's not the right phrase, but, like, there's more or less only one way to do this minigame. And really, the gems and the time limit are only there to make sure you don't wait around, because technically speaking you could, just because balloons respawn. I guess they could have turned that off instead, but whatever. I am a little disappointed, though, that this wasn't an actual stage. Like, I feel like this would have gone in the Summit Beyond the Clouds right after the boat segment, just because it's like sort of a ship graveyard with some icebergs all around, so I don't know, this almost feels like it's cut content, other than the fact that it's not really, like, as a proper level well designed. I enjoy it, but if I played this in the actual game, it would be like, okay, there are way too many balloons, which isn't a problem when you're playing a minigame called Balloons, because you know what you're getting into at that point. It is probably a little repetitive here, though. Then again, maybe it's just because they didn't finish it for some reason. They ran out of time and they had to cut this, and What they had was just 80% balloons. Though if that were the case, I'd actually be kind of mad. I know I said this was my favorite minigame, but actually, they cut out a pretty good stage for this. Seriously though, like, a ship graveyard with icebergs during a storm would have been a fucking cool as hell stage. And I'm honestly kinda disappointed that it doesn't exist now. Never mind balloons, you're my least favorite minigame. Because what could have been would have been frickin' fantastic. Oh man, I am legitimately miffed now. We could have had a pretty cool stage. Of course, it might have also been part of that, like, aquatic world or whatever. I can't find much information about that outside of the wiki. Suspiciously enough, I didn't even see anything about that on the cutting room floor, which is usually pretty good about that. So yeah, I really don't know what to talk about when it comes to the aquatic world, but I'm pretty sure it would have come between Longest Shortcut and Summit Beyond the Clouds, if this is any indication, and the boat that actually appears in-game. Of course, then again, it could have completely replaced Longest Shortcut. I would have been fine with that. Could have just found a boat in Desert of the Canaran and gone from there. I wouldn't have minded. And seriously though, this really would be such a good ending to a water world, in which I guess you have to avoid going into the water world. I would die because there's a storm, and also it's probably freezing? Yeah, it's a good enough excuse. Seriously though, again, you could just, like, replace these balloons with some more ships and icebergs. When you're on the icebergs, you could have some hoodlums attack. It'd probably be mainly Hoodstormers, just because, you know, they're the flyers, but... Ooh. Of course, that would also mean more lava matrices, wouldn't it? Because, yeah. There are also flying enemies that I don't care for, but they're still flying enemies. And, oh yeah, that's Glowbox doing the Titanic pose over there, don't mind him. But yeah, okay, so now I'm mixed about this not being part of the actual game. I think if they touched this up a bit, it would have been a really cool level, but it would have also meant we had to fight the worst mini-bosses, so... I'll have to think about this more, and Rayman, you're kinda stuck in the floor now. Might want to get that checked. Your shoes are very stuck. That will probably be the end of you. Okay, what's next? We have... Special Invaders, which for some reason isn't a Space Invaders knockoff. It's just a minigame where you fly the, what do you call it? Armageddon or whatever. And there's no turret either, which is very nice. There's no shooting sections, it's just a flying section with some pretty alright set pieces, I guess. This room looks cool. Would have liked to explore that room in this game. Maybe that's also cut content, who knows? Anyway, though, it's super simple, though you might notice our health is going down very fast. That's because there are checkpoints, which are those things, rather. And wow, that is horrible font. But yeah, whenever you go through those red sections, you get your time back. And honestly, this minigame is super lenient. Like, I fucked up a lot, and I still managed to pass. Like, I've never failed this minigame. Even the first time I did it, when I didn't really do so well, I still didn't fail it. Like, some of the obstacles are tricky, but unless you hit every wall, you're gonna make it in time. It's honestly really well balanced. Other than, like, the background not really fitting in with the Tower of Leptis, this could have been one of the last levels. And honestly, I would have liked it a lot more than the turret segments, because those were kinda boring. Actually, maybe this is kind of Leptis-ish. I don't know, maybe it could have been a transition between the Hoodlum base and Tower of the Leptis. Because you also had that hangar back there, which doesn't exactly fit in with Hoodlum headquarters, but it would have been okay. And okay, yeah, I don't know what this is. We're just outside, why not? Looks nice. Alright, so yeah, that was a very easy minigame, but it's kind of fun. But again, because it's a set stage, there's not really much of a point to play it more than once. And I believe we're actually on the last minigame now, right? Yep, we're playing Commando, which is based on an arcade game that I'm not that familiar with. And yet again, we play as Razoff. Apparently, they really wanted you to play as Razoff. Big Razoff fans, the Rayman 3 development team. Anyway, your health meter isn't an actual health meter. If you die, it goes down a bit, but it is technically a one-hit kill. Basically, you just have to restart the current stage over if you die. And obviously, if you run out of health, it's game over, and you have to start the whole thing over. Doesn't matter too much right now, but of course there are 3 stages, so at this point, we don't want to get a game over. I went with a perfect run, because, this minigame isn't too hard. It's actually kind of fun. The only problem is, you have to listen to Razoff laughing constantly, which is kind of annoying. Though in fairness, he does it so much you kind of forget that he is. It's like the ticking of a clock, you learn to phase it out. The constant laughter that Razoff emits from his horrible maw. Seriously though, why did they have so much Razoff stuff? They really liked the guy for some reason. I mean, I guess 2 out of his 3 minigames are, like, some of the most okay in the game, so there's that, but... why Razoff? Why him? Why no Reflux minigames? They were proud of his boss battles. You'd think they would also include him in some minigames, but no, apparently not. Except in the GameCube minigames. Reflux was actually a GameCube exclusive, I guess. But anyway, yeah, stage 3. This is actually, I find, the easiest stage. Like, before I got semi-good at this minigame, this is the only one I could just, like, run through without much trouble. Eventually I learned to just stop taking it slow and rush through the whole thing, and that makes it a lot more fun. But I did that from the get-go here. But of course, the boss is actually pretty difficult. And of course, it's a heckler. So this guy's got a spread shot, and he immediately summons 4 hoodlums, who will just immediately respawn when you kill them. You're going to want to constantly be hitting the heckler, even if you have to focus on something else, just so he's not shooting you. That'll make your life a whole lot easier, because otherwise, his attacks are hard to dodge. That being said, we are done, so that's it for the minigames of Rayman 3. Those were mostly pretty disappointing. On the next bonus part of Rayman 3, we're going to be checking out the Game Boy Advance version.